What is up, everyone? We have a new set coming out, so you know what that means. A new top 5 new brews for the Lost Caverns of Ixalan. This is number 5, and it's an interesting combo deck, so let's get into it. Before we get into the deck tech, just a reminder, we have the early access streamer event on November 9th and 10th. I plan to be streaming over on Twitch from the 9th, 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. PST. Hope you can make it out, and if you do end up missing it, fear not, I will be posting those games onto YouTube. So, yeah, hope to see you there. Alrighty, so this one is the Ancient One combo. So we had a deck previously with this card here, Voldaren Thrillseeker, that used the Multani card to fling and try to kill the opponent in one hit. We have kind of a new version of that, a little bit different, that I'm trying out with the new set. This one involves the Ancient One, a new 2-mana card, which has 8/8 stats, and it cannot attack or block until you have 8 or more permanent cards in your graveyard. It also has an activated ability, 2 and a blue and black. Draw a card, then discard a card, and then a target player mills cards equal to its mana value of the card you discarded. What we're trying to do, get a bunch of these things down, they pump them up, they get bigger, we sack them, we use that to kill the opponent's creatures, and then we exile them with Agatha's Soul Cauldron, and then hopefully turn 2 or turn 3 or something like that, we'll put the Ancient One down, and then turn 4, you can put down the Voldaren Thrillseeker, and you can immediately sack your Ancient One, and because this puts 2 counters on the Ancient One, it's going to be 10/10, so you can sack that on turn 4 and deal 10 to the opponent's face. And then with the Likeness Looter as well, you can kind of turn every creature that you play into the Ancient One, and you can sack it, and you can deal 10 to the opponent's face. So there's a lot of ways to win. You can win with damage by getting enough stuff in your graveyard with the Surveil and the Descend and stuff like that. But probably the way you're going to win, at least finish the game, is dealing 10 to the opponent's face. And you can do it as early as turn 4. And then pretty much once you got a few of your combo pieces, then you can use the Soul Cauldron to turn everything again into another 10/10 that you throw at their face. So you just have to do it twice and you can win the game. And so it seems pretty reasonable to be able to do it because we got, as I mentioned, the Likeness Looter. It has the ability to turn into anything in your graveyard, where you pay X, and X is the mana value of the creature. So you only have to pay 2 to have this turn into the Ancient One. Whereas if you use the Multani card, it's either 4 or 5 mana, but it would be much harder to do that. So just paying 2, pretty easy. You can drop this on turn. So let's say turn 4, you sack the Ancient, you play Voldaren Thrillseeker, you sack the Ancient One. And then you deal 10 to their face. Turn 5, you can sack the Thrillseeker, deal 1 damage. You exile it with Cauldron. You play Likeness Looter. You pay X to turn it into Ancient One. So now it's an 8/8. And then you can put the counter from the Cauldron onto your Likeness Looter and sack it to deal 9 to the opponent's face. 8 plus 1 from the Cauldron. And yeah, so you just killed them on turn 5. So that's like the perfect scenario. It probably won't happen that quickly. And you have to, of course, find your Thrillseeker, which is one of the main pieces. So we've got other ways to descend by discarding cards with Invasion of Mercadia. We've got Brass Tunnels Grinder to descend, discarding as many cards as we want and drawing that many +1. And then both of these cards, have some upside that they can have value later on. This can turn into a 3/3 that lets us discard cards. This can turn into a land, which lets us discover. So if we can get this to flip and play like our Chupacabra or something, we can find our Thrillseeker. Or even if we play like a Thrillseeker, we can find an Ancient One, etc. So this land will help us find what we need if we can get it flipped. And the only way to turn this on is to descend a few times, 3 times it looks like, to get 3 counters on this, and then it will flip. So since everything is descending, pretty easy for us to do that. We have, the Dream Thief to descend. We have the Likeness Looter, which can descend. The Invasion can descend. The Everflowing Well can descend. And this Brass Tunnel Grinder descends when you play it, so it's going to already get one counter just off of that. And then a few other includes we got is the Souls of the Lost. The reason we have this one is because we're doing all this descending, so there's a very good chance that we can get this creature's power up to a pretty reasonable number, maybe 5, 6, 7. So, in the case that you can't find your Ancient One, you've got your Souls of the Lost, which can kind of be almost like your Ancient One, which you can sack and ping the opponent's face for, 6 or 7. And then Likeness Looter can turn into that as well. So it just kind of a little bit of redundancy in that aspect. We have the Chupacabra's Echo as a removal and a pretty decent body. And then we also have the Ingenious Prodigy, which is kind of a strange include, I guess, but it's a good way to kind of draw some cards. And when it gets down to 0, then we don't mind sacking it to like the Souls of the Lost or yeah, I guess that's it. I was thinking that we had another sack outlet, but either way, it's not, it could be a blocker or something like that, but it's mainly there to draw us cards. And it kind of has a combo where each turn, you can activate your Cauldron and put a counter on the Prodigy, and then it's going to take the counter off and draw you a card. So essentially, you could kind of get infinite draw with these 2-card combo, as long as the opponent doesn't remove it. But the prospect is there. Thrill Seeker can also put counters on it in a pinch to draw you a couple cards. So there is some synergy there as well. But it's going to mostly be kind of an early game thing to draw you some cards, maybe get in some sneaky damage in some cases where you need it, and then, be sacked if we want to the Souls of the Lost or Chump Block or something like that. So that's the idea. Of course, we got a pretty decent Grixis mana base in Standard right now. We're not even playing the tri-lands because we don't really want tap lands too much. We want to kind of get stuff down on turn 1. And, we are running some of the new man lands just because I think they have some pretty useful effects for Descend. Both of these can put cards in your graveyard, or milling with this one, or discard and draw. So I think it might be worth, if turns out to be bad because it's tapped on turn 1 a lot, then probably cut those. But that's the idea, of course. It's a concept. It's not the perfect list. Probably the Prodigy is not gonna end up being worth it. Maybe like the Everflowing Well is gonna end up not being worth it. Maybe we want more Chupacabra or less Chupacabra. Who knows? If the combo is like happening all the time, we might not even need the Chupacabra. We just chug along with our combo and kind of do like a 1-player MTG game in that sense. Just try to stall the game out and then burn their face. The Ancient One is kind of an interesting card, so I wanted to try to brew some different ideas around the Ancient One, and this is the first one. Something of note, Ob Nixilis with the Ancient One lets you instantly do the draw 7 and deal 7 damage. So it's possible, one of these should be Ob Nixilis. Maybe the Ingenious Prodigy or the Everflowing Well could be switched for Ob Nixilis. And, you can finish off the game with the -7, hitting the opponent for damage or drawing you cards to find your pieces. So maybe, I'm not sure yet, but I like this version of it for now, and I want to try this one out before I go and tweak things. Yeah, that's it for brew number 1, or I should say number 5. We got 4 more on the way, and the early access is coming up on the 9th and 10th. And yeah, stay tuned. So until next time, get out there, have fun, and see ya.